I generally
You don't need to temper the bias that much.
No, it would be okay. You know, it would be great. I think what we're really looking here is to accurately gauge the power level of these two teams, because RNG,
yes,
by their own admission, have had a group of one of the big contenders in that group unable to make it to the tournament, whereas Damwon Kia, by their own admission, and even as a fan of the region, have looked shaky. However, I have fallen for that trap before, thinking that Damwon Kia were weak. And then they still stomped the finals 3-0. So this match is really going to give us a more accurate idea of really how these two powerhouses, two of the tournament favorites, rise or rank up rather against one another.
Yeah, the thing that's really difficult about Damwon is that they haven't been challenged all year. Not even a little bit. So they 6-0'd through the finals. They even smashed Casper Cup and it wasn't close. Coming off their World Championship victory, it just doesn't really seem like we've necessarily had the competition at that level. I think this is the time where it happens, and let's see whether they can rise to the challenges. Already, we are through the bans almost completely, as Renekton, Thresh, and Varus taken away, all pretty understandably. And there are those two powerhouse jungles in the Rumble and the Morgana taken off the board. And here's the third one. I feel like Udyr really has made a rise back to, you know, 11.6 prominence once again, and will be first picked here by Damwon.
And the Senna, of course, is one that I think you kind of need to ban away against Damwon Kia, because it really enables that diversity in the bot lane. Without that, they are playing pretty standard. As we see the Kai'Sa Nautilus pick up, it has been a staple of the tournament thus far. A lot of teams like it. It gets easy prio. Nautilus Kai'Sa remains a combination that can just make stuff work at any point. The moment they get their ultimates, it synergizes incredibly well. And Ming specifically, in the best of ways, he's had an amazing tournament, but he also reminds me of what impressed me about 2020 Damwon, where Beryl fulfilled kind of a similar role. Roam around, make the plays, and Ming has done that so far in an incredibly impressive match. Okay.
And here we are already. You and I were actually having this conversation where you were like, well, I mean, Showmaker hasn't showed the Lucian so far, and I was like, well, you know that he used to play a lot of the Lucian. And also, if you've been having a look at some of the solo queue performances of the Damwon players, Khan has also been spamming a hell of a lot of Lucian at the moment. So, is going to be a flex pick here for Damwon. The double AD has already been locked in, as once again, Wei's going to default back to the Olaf. Certainly seems like his sort of A to B tier jungle pick after the rest of the pool has been thinned out, and that one will be locked in. But I'm glad that you brought up the Nautilus and the Kai'Sa, both of these champions. I think if you think Gala and Ming, you're thinking Kai'Sa and Nautilus. The Nautilus especially, if you guys were watching earlier in the show, his ability to be exactly where he needs to be on the map is utterly terrifying.
It's beautiful to watch, right? And it's something that really separates RNG from some of the, the classic LPL teams. We know they can go aggressive early, but then they can have some mistakes left and right, and we haven't really seen that from RNG yet. This Lucian pick is so interesting to me because it is something you need to respect Xiaoyu on that Lucian. We've seen what level of power, how performances he can have on that pick, and I honestly expected Damwon Kia to just ban it, not pick it away here, and this is already a really big pivot because thus far Showmaker has mostly played, the classic Showmaker champions, is AP carries that he loves so much and that we, as LCK casters, have gotten a little bit bored of.
Yes, we've definitely gotten used to him spamming Syndra every single game.
He plays Zoe as well, so that's two.
Yes, there we go. Two. Yes. Boring picks for Showmaker there in the mid lane. As the Lee Sin is banned in the second round. This is actually something that we probably should have spoken about a little bit earlier, and we need to apologize to everyone at home. But Lee Sin, of course, an extraordinarily high priority pick at the moment, and just basically overlooked until the 5th ban from Damwon's side. And this is a pick that you were talking about. The Gragas will be locked in here by Gala for one of the roles on RNG.
Yeah, of course, it is still swappable. The expectation is that it would go towards top side. Of course, with the Nautilus already picked up, a support Gragas not really gonna happen. Interesting here is that the Gragas has completely fallen off just of the fact that he got a nerf on his E, right? And it wasn't even, not everyone was going E max. There were plenty of Q max Gragases that we saw, and I'm actually of the opinion that it's still a very versatile pick. It will provide a lot of initiation, works incredibly well with the Kai'Sa, enables that killer instinct. Okay, Damwon Kia. Well, I was kind of expecting Damwon Kia to play a bit more slow, calculated, right? Let RNG for early punches and then go from there. This is an incredibly, if they do float the Nile, which I really expect at this point, this is a very, he does it again. a very one-sided damage profile from Damwon Kia, so if they fall behind, it's going to not be fun. However, both of these two comps already, they're going to scrap.
They definitely are. I think the full tank Gragas top lane is going to have a pretty decent time. However, in the early game, Phoenix Stance does do a fair bit of damage, so you probably need to still be a little bit more careful. But Cryan is going to go back to the Orianna once again, and definitely feels like a more rounded, sort of like let's fight for mid-game, but we still have late-game insurance style of composition from RNG. And this is a Damwon Kia draft that reminds me of some of the Yikes ones previously. This one, not necessarily, you know, to the Chovy Scion level of pure AD damage profile.
Oh, don't remind me.
Yeah, that's a rough one, and if you haven't watched the LCK, then I guess that you're probably going to be absolutely fine. But Ghost and Beryl on a very early game focused, but still with a bit of scaling bottom lane duo. Khan on his Scion, who you might think of Scion as a tank. Khan, you can see, already has the highest damage in the top lane, and he's also topped damage in entire games as Scion, building full tank. The guy's ridiculous on this particular pick, and Showmaker back on his Lucian once again. RNG with so much comfort though, and I think that if you're going to look for a draft, Chronicler, this is exactly the one that you want to demonstrate the powers of these two teams.
And it's also a face of Damwon Kia that we haven't really seen coming into the tournament. This is more reminiscent of what they played in the second game of the LCK play. I just want to go for the Renekton Nidalee, right? Like, kind of go back to this early game style draft, because you have, besides Khan, who is not going to get any jungle attention, can already guarantee you that. Even if it was a carry, he wouldn't have gotten it. Now he's Scion, so we're 100% certain about it's going to be about that mid-jungle duo from Damwon Kia. It's going to be about Showmaker and Canyon finding Prio and making plays from there. But on the other hand, I do really like RNG's team because it does everything well. You can scrap early, especially post-6. You have some really nice skirmishing. Olaf is still an early powerhouse. You have a front line. You have a lot of engage. You have disengage. Your Olaf gets enabled by your Orianna. So if Damwon Kia fall behind early, it might be a rough one.
Yes, it could certainly be very dangerous, and here we are onto the Rift for game number 1 of the MSI Rumble stage for 2021. Very excited to see how this one's going to go. I think that we started with exactly the game that we needed to in order to get a full idea about the power level of all of these teams. I imagine power rankings for all those at home. I know that question was posted by LOL Esports earlier today. This is the hardest question, right? Who is better out of Damwon and RNG based on what we saw? Is the group going to allow RNG to look a whole lot better than they actually are? Were Damwon Kia just having some for fun games? You know, you don't necessarily know until you know, and we will after this game, theoretically. As already Cryan and Showmaker facing off against one another. If I know anything about the Lucian-Orianna matchup, not very fun for Orianna.
Opting into that matchup as RNG is clearly saying, listen, Cryan, you just got to hold on, okay?
Yeah.
Wei will help you. Ming will definitely help you with the amount of roams that man has been able to get off consistently, not just within the tournament, but over the entire split of the LPL as well. But in a vacuum, that is a horrendous matchup. And Showmaker is a player that I think has been the most consistent on Damwon Kia. I think Kane has been very good, but he's been a little bit more muted than what we've seen from this team thus far. And with the prio that Showmaker is going to give him permanently, I expect to see some early aggression, maybe an attempt to secure Canyon 2 scuttles yet again, as they have done in the past. Try to get a lead of that and snowball early on against RNG.
Yeah. And I feel like, yeah, Canyon has certainly been addicted to Shellfish throughout this tournament so far. The amount of scuttles he's been able to pick up has been ludicrous. However, it hasn't brought them to a 100% win rate, right? So whether or not you're pathing perfectly in the jungle doesn't necessarily mean you can beat C9 in that match. To lose your first game at MSI is already some aggression here on the bottom side of the map. Ming going aggressive onto Beryl. And of course, if we know anything about set support, you're the one that wants to be making the early plays, and you can see Damwon Kia already getting pushed in.
Yeah, nice control of the wave there from Gala and Ming to get early level 2. That also means that Damwon Kia can't really trade back with the explosive shot. Ghost is able to get a decent trade, so it's not the end of the world. Could have ended up much worse, and then it will slowly get the push back as Yeah, that's Khan's Sion.
Yeah.
Getting Prio early game, of course. For the Gragas sticks a little bit longer. Decimating Smash is just an incredibly strong skill in getting yourself that early Prio. So the topside Scuttle, that's not going to be your problem. But with how well Gala and Ming have been able to play out that early bot lane, I expect Wei to just pick up the bot side Scuttle without too much of a hassle. Showmaker does need to be a little bit careful.
Oh, wow, Ming threading the needle here on the bottom side. Haymaker, though, is going to trade back quite nicely here for Beryl, who will pop his last remaining potion. Canyon grabs one of his favorite things in the universe, which is, of course, that Rift Scuttler that we were talking about. And he's now cruising towards that top side to be disappointed by the lack of Krugs, although he doesn't actually check it, and we'll just go back home instead. Showmaker clearing out wards thanks to the Scryer's Bloom that Canyon just put forward. And everything's just chilled out at this point in time. And normally you'd say this bodes well for Damwon Kia. Not necessarily with these drafts.
Because as RNG, the value of armor in this game just becomes ludicrous, right? The only AP damage source is an Udyr. That's not why you pick the champion.
Yeah.
Unless Canyon really wants to pull out some forbidden Lich Bane technology. But we in the LCK are not known for our adventurous item build, so I don't expect to see that happen. And that means that Damwon Kia needs to find leads. And this is a good moment to talk about Damwon Kia, because even though that kills and like the early leads that they find in terms of KDA is pretty lackluster, they always find gold leads just through laning. And you're talking about plates, you're talking about just CS leads.
Whoa. That is a very early flash there from Gala as Ghost dives all the way in. Ming's going to take a fair bit of damage there as the Penguin will explode. And RNG just able to walk this one off, and Gala actually coming out quite happily at the end.
And this matchup is super important, right? Because we already talked about Beryl in particular. His engages have been super crisp, but his roams, which were one of the big reasons why Damwon was such a suffocating team, as he gets engaged on.
Yeah, big flash forward. There's the face breaker. Ming, though, is just going to get taken down. Ghost grabs the first blood. Xiao, who comes in. The sidestep is so good from Beryl, but he'll still get slowed down. Barrel's going to pop, and it looks like Beryl will be taken out here. Xiaohu's going to have to flash, but that is still going to be kill delivered on over. Damwon with 1,000 gold lead as the dust settles. 2 for 1 in the end.
It's a bloodbath because Wei also got killed while this was happening. So
yeah, I was actually very confused. I'm like, where did the kill come from?
And this is so much more explosiveness than I think we've seen from Damwon the entire tournament. And I think RNG were the ones making the call for the play there with the teleport from Zhao, but in the end it backfires because not only do they get the kill, but they make use of the attention that that gives to get the rest of the lanes ahead. Not really well timed here, because while they go in here, there is actually... The teleport is still channeling, right? There's not enough time. Wei is just... Yeah, that's Canyon Showmaker for you.
Yeah. That is a bros. Walking over a ward as well as Showmaker. So Wei had a bit of an idea of what was going on, but not the idea of exactly where Canyon was. So RNG trying to put the pieces back together, but still a 1,200 gold lead for Damwon in this early game, which is exactly what they need.
And there's two sides to this coin. Damwon is an incredibly scary team when they get early leads, as has been shown in the LCK, but this is also to be expected. They need to get these leads. If you don't get these leads with this composition, and that's why you need, we need to be a little bit careful about getting overexcited, because if you don't get these leads with this comp, as mentioned before, the well-rounded RNG team comp will make it so hard for you with your one-sided damage profile to get anything done. However, I do think for LCK fans, it's very, very heartwarming and also a bit necessary to see Damwon show that they can play the early game, at least initially here, because this is not a side of the team that we've seen in quite a while. On the other hand, RNG, I'm expecting them to bounce back surrounding that first Dragon contest. They've been super good about making these plays, although Wei is getting tracked currently here on his Krugs.
Pretty nicely as well, as that is back-to-back wards that are sitting on those Krugs, giving Damwon all of the information that they want. As Gala's taking a little bit of poke damage here towards the bottom side, as that wave still having some pressure. Lucian, though, back in base for now. And Canyon actually starting off this Cloud Drake. So the Atlas effect not going to be in full force here today, as I am relieved of Cloud Souls for this one. Thank goodness.
It has been a very tenacious curse.
It has, but thankfully it's stopped right here. No more Cloud Souls for Atlas from this point on. Thank you, MSI, for saving me and everybody else.
Mostly everybody else.
Yes,
you know, we don't care as much about you as our enjoyment of the game, I'd personally say. And this means that early Dragon control, which, as mentioned before, with Damwon Kia comp you're very happy to get, also allows them to scale more securely into a late game. Your one-sided damage profile matters less if you have an Infernal Soul. You know, if you have a Mountain Soul, that's going to give you so much more fighting stats, so much more resistances. Ocean Soul, not on the table with that one spawning right now. And thus far, it's kind of the expectation. These lanes from Damwon Kia are really good at securing priority outside of the top side, which it's Khan. He's not going to get attention. He will at some point show up during team fights, and that's pretty much going to be it. And the question for me is how well RNG can kind of weather the storm here early. They still have a comp that spikes really well at level 6, which Gala just hit on the first item spikes, right? There is still a lot of skirmishing power that Damwon Kia needs to respect. However, simultaneously right now, they are starting the Rift Herald, is spotted though, and will be respected here.
Well, Xiaohu taking a hell of a lot of damage here from Khan, who is just going to get him out of the way. Still has the ultimate remaining as Wei is going to turn up. And of course, RNG absolutely in love with Rift Heralds. They've taken all of them in their games in the group stage and would like to continue. So, Canyon is going to be at least dissuaded from taking that one for now. And some of that vision is going to be eradicated here as well, as Wei is going to move up towards that top side. Spotted on vision there, but the Gragas is just now making his way back up the lane. No teleport or anything like that, so just going to hold on to the minion wave and try and stop this this monster that is Khan's Scion. Canyon will start this one back up again though, and let's see whether the contest is going to be there. Xiaohu moving back in, Wei here as well. On the Tri-Brush, Undertow is going to land. Canyon still very healthy as the Decimating Smash comes down. Half the health bar here is Wei not going to be able to steal that Rift Herald. And RNG just looking to back away. Xiaohu wanted to get in there, but they just couldn't find the wraparound.
And I think this is a really good call from RNG. You don't have prio in your lanes. Wei would literally just kind of have to pop Ragnarok and all in. And if you lose a skirmish at that point in adjunction to giving up the Rift Herald, as Beryl goes in.
Yeah, Ming taking way too much damage. Beryl's just going to grab that kill as we've got the rocket jump resets. Gala over the side though. Ghost will be taken down as Khan gets on in there. Roar the Slayer will lock him down. The knockup's going to be there and Khan explodes to pick up the kill on the Kai'Sa. But good work to Gala for being able to at least answer one back.
And I am just baffled by the fact that Ghost and Beryl seem to have completely transformed from the bot lane that we saw in the group stages, because Gala and Ming have been so good throughout the entirety of the tournament. They were one of the main reasons why we saw RNG stomp the finals, right? Like, it was Gala with the pentakill of all things that just completely turned those games on his head. And we here see a move back from Damwon Kia to that early pressure, them actually making use of the prio that they have. And I think, me personally, a bit surprised at how this is coming out here.
I'm personally just really happy to see 2020 Damwon's turned up to 2021. It's very, very cool. As we have a look at the replay once again, and the resets do come in. Ghost does get a little bit more excited than he possibly needs to, but Khan is going to pick up his first kill of the game, and Damwon Kia are looking really, really strong.
And the problem with this play for RNG is that you don't really have the opportunity to get a lot done on the top side, right? It's not like you have a top laner there, like a Jace that can just get turrets very rapidly. Xiao is put on the Gragas. Even though you're building AP Gragas, which means his damage will be a lot more reliable, which I don't actually know if I love that, considering the problems that Damwon Kia might have, but it does provide for insane burst together with Gala's ultimate. But you can't really capitalize as well with cross-map plays as you might do with another top laner, and that leads us to this sizable 2k gold lead. Again, a lead that Damwon Kia need to have, they need to maintain. But Damwon Kia has won a lot of games from behind, just through out-team fighting. A Damwon Kia that starts getting leads in the early game again is terrifying to me.
Yes, me as well, as Wei's going to come through. Khan doesn't have his ultimate quite available just yet. Going to have to flash through the wall. Manages to nail the fat one right there. Very nicely done. But that is still flash down for the top laner of Damwon Kia. Wei with a successful gank on the bottom side.
And I wonder what they're going to put down the Rift Herald. It looks like bot lane might be the most viable one in terms of actually getting first turret blood, but with the protective play coming in, I don't think they're actually going to have the opportunity to do so. This next Ocean Drake is going to be big, because I think RNG are not in a position to really fight it. However, if you do give it up, you're only one Drake away from Soul Point, and being on Soul Point this early on in the game would just be really rough for you to play out, even with how well the composition scales. And Damwon Kia looking to put it down in the mid lane just for the added pressure.
Yep, and they're going to be able to grab some plates for it as well. See whether Showmaker turns up to see whether he can grab some of his share of the money, and he's going to be able to do so here by the looks of things. Cryin with some damage there, as there's a great hook from Ming. A lot of damage, and immediately Canyon is just blown up. That's the smite gone here for the Ocean Drake fight. Damwon Kia gonna have to back away. This is a big misstep for the world champion.
And it's a beautiful hook from Ming that it sets at the play. Damwon Kia getting greedy. There's no reason, besides getting that ward, for Canyon to push that, to path that way. If he just paths back together with Showmaker, there's no way that they can ever get on him. Instead, this is a huge dragon for RNG because this buys them so much time further into this game, because it means that as we see the Mountain Soul is going to come through, a Mountain Soul Scion is not fun to play against.
No.
And that is now way further away than it otherwise would be.
And this is another reason why I would have really liked the tank Gragas as well, because, you know, you layer that on top of the Mountain Soul, plus the fact that armor does have so much value in this game. Xiaohu deciding not to go for it though, wants to have some added damage to try and help fight Damwon in the mid game. You can't fault him for that either, as he's just going to pick up this wave as it crashes towards his turret. Slight advantage there for Khan. If we have a look at the CS, only about 10 in the jungle, as Canyon, of course, was punished there a little bit, but it's a 30 CS lead for Showmaker. He is dominating.
He is at 170 CS at 14 minutes.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
That's Chovy territory, you know? Like,
yeah, I was going to say, like, the Chovy Showmaker debate is going to restart again. Of course, Chovy not here to defend himself, though, so I guess we're not allowed to do that right now. But you can see Showmaker rolling in the money right now. The total gold on the left of your screen right there, certainly demonstrating that one.
What I am really happy to see, what we saw from RNG there, is that RNG is not afraid to still contest. I think a lot of other teams might not even look for the opportunity there. I think if Damwon Kia actually makes it into the river, there's no way that as RNG you really want to go for that. At that point, you're kind of flipping it with the 2K gold lead, the item spikes that Damwon Kia has already hit. But I am very happy that the reason why that play works in the first place is because they are there. They are there to punish Canyon if he paths greedily, right? And it leads them to a situation where now Damwon Kia has a great lead, but it's a lead with a caveat. It's always weighed against, is it enough? Are they going to be able to make it work? Are they going to be able to really hit the crucial level of Snowball? Cryin might get dove here.
Yep, Canyon dives on underneath there as Cryin is going to flash. Canyon just going to drive by, and the teleport coming through from Xiaohu will cancel the aggression, but still a lot gained there from Damwon Kia, even though they didn't get a kill.
That is a free summoner that you're very happy to take. Beryl going in again here.
Yeah, there's the showstopper. Facebreaker doesn't land on Gala there, though, as he will have the Haymaker for the added shield. Teleport's now coming through as Ghost is free hitting. Canyon off towards the side. Khan now trying to frontline, but it's 4 versus 4. Wei comes in. There's the shockwave only onto Khan, but they are going to be able to get through that big Scion, and Damwon Kia not going to be able to answer.
And again, it's a play set up by Damwon Kia, but it's RNG that punished beautifully here. Gold lead now, still roughly the same, just due to the fact that they were not able to get anything more besides Khan. But I'm surprised that Damwon Kia goes for that with Canyon not there. If that Udyr is already there, it's way easier to really get anything going. Instead, it's an even trade, not really something you're looking to take here as Damwon Kia.
No, not exactly. And this is some signs of the Beryl that we saw in the group stage, right? You know, stepping forward a little bit too often, not necessarily having his mind on the play. And let's see whether he continues to play this way or whether he's going to be able to shore some things up. Because I think that in this game, particularly, I was looking at the bottom side of the map. I think Ming and Beryl, Ming's been overperforming. He's still been playing like an absolute beast. And Beryl, who we've been touting for many years, is a fantastic support player and does love his roams, loves to make plays, but maybe making a few too many of them in this particular tournament. That being said, Damwon Kia will be able to take away the second Rift Herald of the game, and should be able to use that in order to get some extra map pressure.
And first Turret has not been picked up yet. Zhao. Nope,
yeah.
Never mind.
Not going to look for Beryl just yet. Ships in the night by the looks of things, as there's the Beryl going to be using the Flash in order to taxi Beryl out of danger. But still, Flash for Beryl, you'll take that every day of the week.
Flash for Beryl, Force with a Beryl.
Yeah.
You'll have to see it, and
okay.
Oh, Beryl.
Yes, again, taking a little bit too much damage here as the hook is once again beautiful from Ming. Cryin going to be able to lock down that kill, and that will give RNG the kill advantage for the first time this game.
Now the gold lead is slowly becoming smaller and smaller. Canyon going in.
Yeah. Okay, not going to be able to find anything just yet. Dredge line just going to be used to get Ming out of danger. And Canyon's going to put down this Rift Herald. 30 seconds on the first Mountain Drake of the game. And this one, Damwon Kia has to get, because if RNG are able to stack up Mountain Drakes, I just don't see how this composition is going to be able to go the distance. But it looks like RNG not too interested in getting control of the area. And to be perfectly honest, even just getting one of these Drakes was huge for RNG to stall out this game.
We do see that not everyone in Damwon Kia has been able to go back to actually make use of the gold that they got, whereas RNG, they all just got fresh backs in. They saw turret is gone, not going to be able to use it, going to go back with everyone and try and contest this Drake. And this is a crucial point in this game. If Damwon Kia pick up this Drake and can get closer towards that Soul, at the very least deny it from RNG, they're in a good spot. They need a decisive teamfight win here, but RNG has been playing these skirmishes so well.
Yeah, Wei going to move back into this brush. In position right now is Ming coming through from the bottom side. Ward's going down, control ward now removed as Wei is a little bit more blind than he otherwise was. Damwon Kia now halfway through this dragon. Xiaohu going to move on around. Cryan just turning up now as Gala is in position. Likely to be a 50-50, but Wei is a little bit too far away, and the Drake is going to be taken there by Canyon. But can they win the ensuing fight as the Scion is thrown around like a ragdoll and taken down before the fight has even really started? Shockwave comes down, Beryl's also dead. 2 kills for the Drake.
And I don't know if that's a trade that you'll take, as Damwon Kia, really well played from RNG yet again. They scud in and out of the effective range. If Damwon Khan goes in with an ultimate, doesn't really hit anyone. Beryl doesn't hit the face breaker on Gala. And as a result, we slowly see this Kai'Sa getting more and more fat. The gold lead, not as big as you might like to see. It used to be 2K, it's now down to 200 gold, which is basically negligible. And I think these Drake fights are going to become more and more pivotal. And Damwon Kia just not looking like the dominant team that we're used to seeing. Whereas RNG, they were tested clearly a lot more than they have been up until this point, but still matching Damwon so well.
Yeah. And to be perfectly honest, looking better at this stage of the game. As we can see in this replay once again, Khan gets turned into the zombie far too early.
And it's understandable, he's doing that on purpose to create space. The real problem is Beryl, because I think if you just sack Khan there, it's fine. Beryl can walk out and you can leave it at that. And you don't give over 2 kills to Gala, right? What happens instead is Damwon Kia seems to be unsure of whether or not they actually want to engage. So Beryl also walks forward, like as mentioned, doesn't hit a face breaker, and then he just also kind of dies. And these are the kills that are really going to become problematic as RNG's, as you can already see, have scaled into this super scary teamfight comp. You have backline dive, you have frontline, you have engage, you have a ton of damage.
Oh yeah.
And for Damwon Kia, I'd be a little bit worried, if not knowing that this team is also insane at teamfights. I'm just happy that this game is as close as we want it to be. This is 2 of the tournament favorites taking one another on. And with Damwon's form in the group stage, you might have thought, is it really going to be close? Thus far, game is delivering.
Well, we'll see exactly whether Damwon can find some more advantages here, or whether they can make this composition work in the late game. When it comes to compositions, Damwon does like to sort of warp our expectations. They sort of turned a Nidalee Renekton composition into a late game comp in their last final. So we'll see whether that can happen yet again. But against RNG, I think it is a very different story. Especially in the LPL final, it felt like RNG was like Super Saiyan Gen G, which is just like the best version of it. And you, Chronicler, were thinking that the Gen G playstyle was going to be enough to take down Damwon Kia. I'm going to have to hold that thought for the moment, as Ragnarok is just going to be popped here, and Wei's going to get out. So no need to worry about that one. But yeah, RNG playing through their bottom side in that final did mean that I was getting this idea that Damwon Kia could fall apart through that, but that is not how this game has gone. It's been through skirmishes, team fights, and just better map positioning from RNG to get themselves back into this one.
It's kind of the fighter expectations for Damwon Kia. I think for RNG, it actually it sees them move more towards the expectation with coming into this tournament, right? This is what many from the LPL themselves said. RNG is not necessarily a typical LPL team. They don't need early aggression, right? They don't need to flip it on a dive on level 3. They are more calculated. They are a team that can play more for objective, they can play slower, they can negate the sideline pressure of an enemy team. And now we're getting to the point of the game where it's 22 minutes. This game can still go either way. If Damwon win the next team fight and they put themselves on soul point, and then for RNG, it's going to become a lot harder as they will have to reliably deal with any subsequent fight from there on out. If you lose a single one and you give up Mountain Soul, you're in a really rough spot. On the other hand, RNG, they've hit their 2 item power spikes. Their damage profile is way more well-rounded. And thus far, I feel like they've been getting the upper hand in basically every skirmish besides that first one on bot lane. And that's worrisome for DK.
Yeah, it's really interesting talking about damage profile, actually, considering the fact that RNG are very skewed towards magic damage, actually.
Yeah, the Gragas...
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll get you there.
It is, it's a little bit odd. That being said, you know, Gala does do mixed damage on the Kai'Sa, probably leaning more towards AD, considering the build, especially now with the Last Whisper in his back pocket as way. Wearing the orb, he's going to dive on forward, but no shockwave is going to come through, and RNG are just going to back away. Showmaker taking a bit of damage there, but otherwise not too worried.
Big chunk shouldn't really matter with still 35 seconds left on the Drake. Both teams now trying to get mid lane Prow desperately. Mid lane Prow turn it in as they go in.
Yeah, flash on forward there from Xiao, and immediately the Tristana pops. Showmaker's here though to be yet another AD carry. Xiao is delivered over to him, and they grab their first kill of the fight. 3-man shockwave though for Cryan, but is it going to be enough to do the damage they were looking for as Canyon running around being a nuisance? Showmaker still at full health as Gala and Cryan now trying to turn this one back way off towards the side, trying to come on back in as Beryl once again going to fall down. Khan gonna flash away. Soul Furnace gives him that shield, but now Canyon forced to run. Gala trying to find more, not gonna be able to find the last Void Seeker, but RNG have bigger health bars now than Damwon Kia as the dust settles in a 2-for-2.
What a ludicrous fight here. When Ghost got picked off, I thought it was immediately over. They're able to somehow claw their way back. Still gonna go for a Katas. Teleport comes in.
Yeah, big old teleport here from Khan to make his way forward. Doesn't have the train available, as we've got backs as well. The Orianna does have teleport, and Ghost has respawned as now this Drake taken down below half health. RNG with control of the pit as Canyon comes on and gets stolen by Showmaker for some reason, as now the fight is on. Way down to half, and Khan trying to tank in the front line. By tank, I mean he's just dying to 4 members of RNG. Ming's going to move on in here as well. And RNG with 5 members strong, looking at potentially the Baron.
And you're happy to take the Drake, but if you give up the Baron for it, RNG might be very happy about that one. If it was a Soul, it would be good, but it's just Soul Point. You don't actually gain a sizable lead right now, and you can't give up this Baron to RNG.
Yeah, might be a little bit early. 25 minutes into this game as Wei taking a fair bit of damage here. The culling comes down. Gonna give Ming that back massage as Xiaohu's now the one that's gonna be tanking it, and that is going to be Baron secured. The Canyon also taken down as Ghost is gonna be able to use the rocket jump in order to get out, but Gala is right behind him and will rain the plasma down on the Tristana. Now Showmaker trying to grab Cryan, but he can't do it. It's not a one-man show here for the mid laner of Damwon Kia, and with 3,000 gold ahead of Damwon, RNG are gonna storm down mid.
And the Baron power play going to come in here for RNG. They're going to be able to do so much more with this Nashers. And this was basically 2 minutes of continuous fighting. And as I said, I thought when Ghost got picked, it was over. Through just the power of Showmaker, who's having an incredible game on the Lucian, they're able to draw it back in the extended fight, pick up the Drake. But then here, you don't have Smite available. Ghost not able to actually get anything done. A bit of a disjointed fight. You're missing your front line. It's not something that you can really contest, and then giving up more and more of these kills.
Yeah. And that was the new Axe Effect replay, and Damwon Kia, unfortunately, bore the brunt of what was absolute RNG dominance in this one. And look, they're now at the inner turret, and I think that maybe the use-by date needs to be spoken about here for Damwon Kia. This composition, it's not going to get better and better or anything like that, and this Red Bull Baron power play is only extending over 3,000 right now. And I'm expecting this not to be the end of it, as the first inhibitor will be taken down. Showmaker finally backing. It's going to leave that top lane. So, a couple of the minion waves not actually here, but RNG still sieging on the Nexus turrets. This top one, not long for the world, as Gala is going to get pushed away. Wei down to a below half as Canyon looking for his opportunity. They storm on in. Gala goes invisible. Is he going to get knocked up? Yes, but Canyon, he can't do any damage, and Ghost can't get in there to actually hit the Kai'Sa. Khan as well is going to be taken down to way too low health to continue frontlining for the team as Showmaker gets out of the way of the explosive cast. But Damwon Kia, it just looks like they don't have enough buttons to deal with RNG at the moment.
And they are lacking away to get on top of them. The Nexus is going to be open, Atlas.
Yep, Canyon once again going on in, has to flash out immediately though, and Cryan goes golden, avoids the knock-up there from Khan, who will be taken down. The Tristana again enters the death chamber, and this is it. RNG will take down the world champions in game 1 of the Rumble stage.
And what a beautiful first game here between these two teams, because it was a fist fight from the beginning. Dom and Kia looking way better in the early game than we've seen, but one consistent thing for us LCK fans has been Dom and Kia. The team fighting is insane, and RNG shows, sure, but we're better because the way that they're able to consistently out-skirmish a team that has shown such consistent performance in those teamfight stages is incredible.
It was just RNG systematically taking apart what was an early game that was under complete control of Dom.